So I'm with David Ashford, Minister for Health and Social Care. There's actually three different things that have come up and you're giving interviews today. So let's obviously deal with Manannan Court, because that's the one that got released at 12 o'clock today. Damning in places. You've got some praise, I know, so let's balance this thing up. But there are problems.
There are problems, and I mean that's why we commissioned the report in the first place. I think it's important to remember this is a report the department themselves went out and said that we wanted. That we wanted it done independently. Dr. Dickinson, who's reviewed the services previously, was very thankfully said he would come back and do a review again. Particularly around care plans, issues have emerged where Dr. Dickinson felt they weren't necessarily fit for purpose the way they are now.
How did they get in that state in the first place, though?
Well, interestingly, if you read the report, it's actually saying things are a lot better than they've been the last time Dr. Dickinson was over. But he's saying in relation to care plans, there's things that are needed that need to be firmed up. In total, he's made 17 recommendations across the report, and I'm happy to put on record right here, but now the department accept all 17 recommendations and will be working towards it. So there is certainly some things that are very concerning, particularly for me as Minister, the care plans, which I think are fundamental to the treatment of the patient.
How did it get so wrong, though? Again, I ask you, it's just one of those...
it's one of those things that's developed, I think, over a period of time.
A culture could be moved around.
Well, I think it's more about making them more robust. It's not the fact there aren't care plans there. The report recognises there are, but the recommendation is around making them more robust so that there's patient involvement in those care plans. So rather than someone dictating a care plan for the patient, it's about involving them and making sure they're aware of the pathways that they're on. So it's about firming them up and making it more robust. So
people are going to be moved now by looks of it, because it's stating that they think people have got stuck maybe too long in one place. You accept that was a interesting one?
Dr. Dickinson has raised that before. I think he raised it last time.
So you hadn't acted on it last time?
Well, no, he actually raises it. He states in the report he's seen more of people moving around and them flourishing in their new roles, but he believes perhaps that there's the opportunity to go a bit further.
That's the danger here, isn't it, being a small place? There's not much chance to move too many people around.
I think obviously not the extent you would have in a large jurisdiction like the UK, but I think there is opportunities for people to move within the services. We do have quite expansive services, even being a small populated area. But I think it's important, as you mentioned there at the start, with balance. There's actually some highlights in the report as well, where Dr. Dickinson, for instance, mentions about the environment. From when he was last here was Greenwich Court and now Manannan Court. He says the environment is a lot more fit for purpose. It's a lot better than the last time he was here. Patient safety, he says, has become more of a priority than when he was last here, and there's been good steps there. He mentioned about the ward manager roles being created, which he said was a great advance, and he's also welcomed our suicide prevention policy as well.
And that's great, they're good news stories, but people are concerned obviously when things go wrong. It's just human nature, isn't it? They want to know why and how it's going to be fixed. Should people have confidence in going in now better than they did before, or is it a general movement, getting it right?
I think what has been found isn't catastrophic problems.
No.
The recommendations are things that the department can pick up and can implement. And I think one of the key things, and in some ways I think people should see this as a breath of fresh air, this is a report the department has commissioned itself off the back of some concerns being voiced publicly. Okay. We went out, we said we wanted the report, we've done it independently, and we've not tried to keep the report away. As you say, it's been published today, and it's up online for anyone to see. Okay. So there's been no attempt from the department not to have it out there in the open. We've been open and transparent with it.
Okay, but it's all reactive, isn't it, instead of proactive? I mean, you had problems, you got somebody in. Do you think you need more on top all the time to have those reports again done from external sources that come in on a regular basis and carry on just looking at things all the time?
Well, we do constantly do self-review as well, but because of the scales of what was published out there in the media from certain individuals who came forward making certain accusations, we felt it was important that this was done as a completely independent report. And since Dr. Dickinson knew our services and had done an excellent job for us reviewing them for maybe even 5 years ago now, we felt it was, because of the level of it, to be seen to be independent, to have that review undertaken.
And that is his report everything. You don't get a copy and you start redacting stuff out of it.
No. You'll see from the reports itself, Paul, in terms of the typeset and everything else, it's not a government typeset.
Sometimes people get copies first and they make some
it's not
changes.
branded up as DHSC. No. It is exactly the same as we did with the Sir Jonathan Michael review. Yeah. It is Dr. Dickinson's report. Okay. Every comma, every full stop.
I haven't got to be too long because you're a lot pressed. So very quickly, you've lost a top man in the health service. Your comments on that?
The director of hospitals has moved on to other things.
Okay, that just says all sorts of things in code. Is that good or bad? He had sacked, moved, resigned.
He was on an initial 6-month contract. That contract, since when that expired, was extended. It was never meant as a full-time. It was an interim. He was interim director of hospitals. He's moved on to other things, and now as we develop towards developing Manx Care, all the roles and how they fit into the organisation will need to be looked at, and that includes the role of director of hospitals.
So what's happened? Someone's just stepped up at the minute, or are you getting
someone
drafted in?
So at the moment, the deputy CEOs, so in terms of the deputy CEO governance, the deputy CEO with responsibility for nursing, are actually leading the service up there.
And there should be full confidence in them?
Yes, we seem to do a lot of interviews with
because this. I have to ask that question, because one day maybe you might say, no question, or whatever. If I don't ask, I don't get.
I mean, it's not going to affect service delivery. The people, patients on the ground will notice no difference.
Okay, finally, opioids. Is that even the right term, opioids?
It is the right term.
There's been a doctor said that we're... in the Isle of Man, there's too many being prescribed.
Yeah, Helen Freer did a piece with Manx Radio, I think it was, saying...
That's quite a headline, though, isn't it?
Saying that she believes that there's too many being prescribed.
Is that just one view, or is it
as far as I'm aware, that's her personal view. I've not seen anything to suggest that that's the case.
You hear this thing
I'm
all the
sure
time,
it's something that I would expect Public Health to be looking at, because they're the data collection agency across government. So I'm sure that's something that will be looked at. It made a headline the other day. I haven't had a chance to speak to Helen about it.
Will you be?
I will try and get hold of Helen.
I
think I've got a good working relationship with her.
So it won't be a sort of, you shouldn't have done that.
No, far from it. I think I have quite a good working relationship with the GPs. I've met them on several occasions since I became Minister.
Okay.
And I will try to speak to Helen about her concerns.
Finally, how's the budget going? Because obviously Al's waltzing it now, isn't he? He's got it. Have you given it to him yet for next year, the budget?
We're starting into the budget bid process now. All the departments are in a similar situation.
Any overspends yet you want to tell us about?
Well, we had this interview only a couple of weeks ago when we did my Year 3 interview. And as I say, things change.
Yes, that's
not quite necessarily that quickly. But as I say, with health, and I'll reiterate it again, health, unlike some departments, doesn't have a natural spend across the year. So it doesn't have an even spend. We can go 3 or 4 months where it looks like we're going in under budget, and then because of high demand in certain medical areas, we can end up with an overspend.
And that's exactly why I asked the question, because it may have all changed in 3 weeks or whatever it was. But
I think it's about 2.5.
Is that what
and it hasn't. I know. It just feels longer. But it hasn't changed that radically.